Hi, everyone. My name is Hassan. My topic is the importance of thinking skills for students in 21st century. I am from Tanzania. You're welcome for presentation. In this topic, in this presentation, I'm going to begin with an introduction. Then I shall go for question. Then I shall proceed with the context of the study, background. I shall talk about data collection, then findings of my study, discussion, and I will end my discussion by looking at the implication, how this study will be applied in our educational context. By beginning, I would like to give you a brief explanation about thinking skill, as thinking skill is the essential component for 21st century. As you can see, thinking skills here, it is core of the 21st competencies are like creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and problem solving. And this has been the case as since the late of 1990s, education policymakers, also education practitioners, they have been thinking of the 21st century skills, whereby most of them, they are looking on the need of having people who can demonstrate critical thinking, creativity, communication, and the collaboration, as it has been reported by Michael Fulani. So in this presentation, I'm going to discuss much about the importance of thinking skills in the education industry. Yes, the study is guided by the one major question that why it is important to focus on the questioning skills. Also, something can be asked along with this question is, can questioning skill be taught or measured? So my presentation will at least describe few things pertaining to the question skills as the one of the important aspect of thinking skills which is needed in this 21st century. We are told that a teacher in the class at least ask 2 questions per minute. Every 1 minute, teacher always asks 2 questions. And therefore, he or she is able to ask 400 questions per day. Also, he or she can ask 7,000 questions per year. So these questioning skills account for about 1/3 of the all teaching time of a teacher in a year. So if that is the case, if it counts 1/3 of the teaching time, there is important of having a well-structured way of asking these questions. And therefore, some few things to share here is a teacher should plan to use questions that encourage thinking and reasoning. Also, teacher always should ask a question that may include everyone in the class. That is another important aspect. Also, a teacher should give a student time to think. Next thing, avoid judging student responses. Also should follow up student in the way that encourage deeper thinking. So if you look at these things in the Tanzania context, for instance, or in most teachers do not focus much of these things. Therefore, this study has been resulted or has been guided by the EduLead benchmark 3.1, which is encouraging or improving thinking school culture in the school. For my case, in my school, we are at benchmark level 2 developing stage, whereby our target is to reach master level, which is benchmark number 5, at the end of 2022. Now, how can we organize the questioning skills? The questioning skills, a teacher can be effective if we'll consider the following things. One, should involve how a teacher will arrange the room and the resource needed for the instruction. Also, how he introduces questioning session. Next thing is how he or she establishes ground rules, plan first question that he will use, also give thinking time. So all these at least provide insight or how this research question that why it is important to focus on a questioning skill, or and can questioning skills be taught or measured? This explanation at least try to give insight of them. As to proceed, the context of my study is covering student. These are from Form 1 to Form 4 student who are about 613. Also teachers whom are teaching them, and sample for this sample population for this study is Form 2 class, and time for implementation of this study is 2020-2021. Well, so now let me talk a bit about the background of the study. Actually, questioning techniques is very important because it can contribute or it can stimulate learning, develop the potential for students to think, drive it a clear idea, stir the imagination, and incentive to act. Therefore, this start was a result of, or started from training we made. We conducted the training. Also, we did some implementation of the Floric model, whereby concentration was use of language, whereby I can get these questioning skills as a classroom language. So implementation, also it is followed by review. We have been reviewing what has been doing in the classes since training. Also reflection and assessment. And this assessment has been doing time to time in the monthly test, also inter-school examination and other external examinations, whereby we have been observing continuous development of the student from time when before teachers were applying these skills or these knowledges of questioning skills during the teaching and after. Methodology used in our research is first, there is research approach. Also, there is research design, data collection, and sampling techniques. But for this case, I'm going to talk about the data collection. The data collection involved is observation. We have applied the observation method to collect data on the development of questioning skills in the classes, whereby we have been observing how teachers engage students through questioning. Apart from lesson observation, also we collected data through observing lesson plan to see how teacher plan his or her lesson prior to the class session, particularly in the reflection stage and the plenary. How does she or he introduce session and make a follow-up and the reflection in order to enhance his or her session. Something else we have been observed, we've been looking at a student work, assignment given, examination, whereby we were looking the level. We have been looking at a question. How does question organized? In which level of a question have been made from, based on the taxonomy, Bloom taxonomy? Do teacher mainly prefer lower or higher thinking order question, and so forth? So this, we are looking at the student assignment and examination. Well, so when we were observing teachers' lesson in different classes, we interested in looking at the following area, or looking at the following questioning strategies. One, it was waiting time. To what extent do teacher allow student to think? How long do teacher allow student to think of the question shared? And what gesture do teacher use is to guide the student to think about the concept shared? Something else, it was safe to fail. Is there any positive climate? Do students feel safe if he commit mistake as part of trying to find a solution for the question? Also, we are looking at the way teacher encourages students to attempt questions. Also, we are looking at the follow-up. How do teacher making follow-up about student response? Next thing is model the type of answers. Do teacher giving a model answer to student? And the next is the kind of feedback or response do teachers were giving to student. The level of mirroring, where they, where teacher able to do mirroring. That means to connect student response and his or her explanation as per clarification. Also, the way teachers were using 5 whys as a probing, like what, why, what if, what if for, how does it, and things of such kind. So we were interested much on how do teacher organize the questions to drive the session, And therefore, we were examining here in the probing and assessing the way teacher is able to ask a question of different purpose, like a question which is seeking for clarification, question which is seeking for reason, question which needed for more information, and so forth. Well, so the study was conducted, learning observation was involved 26 students, 26 teachers. Among them, we successfully observed 12 students, 12 teachers, whereby the findings show that most teachers were able to give feedback to students. However, this kind of feedback was not well organized to such extent, but they were able to give feedback to students. And mainly, they were encouraging them, they were praising them, that's good, excellent, and so forth. But there was a lack of constructive feedback, especially on what students should do to improve the level he has reached. But another area where teachers were doing good is waiting time. They were able to give a student time to think for their for the response. Also, safe to fail. This is not much done with many teachers. Also, to model answers. Most teachers were neglecting this part to model the answer to show the way student how to approach the question. So here is a pie chart which show the percentage practice of the questioning strategy by the most teachers whom we have observed. This is pie chart, and up here is the same presentation, but this is organized in the chart, and that is pie chart. So this start has come with the following discussion. Actually, because the study began with a training to teachers, so we have come to realize that it is not easy to change practice in teachers' performance, because most teachers they have their own experience. So it has been difficult for them to adapt the changes, especially to include these different ways to engage students through questioning. Also, teachers rely on inclusive type of question. That means these questioning skills are very rare used in the class. Teachers in most cases use inclusive question, where there is no probing to seek deeper understanding from the student. Questions that require higher order thinking during session are least asked despite training. And this has been reflected on the review activities and the reflection. When we were observing, we could see that the teachers do not use the higher order thinking question in the reflection. Also, the practice before training impacted after training performance to some subject. That means there are some a slight changes or improvement in some question, that when you look at the performance of a student in both academic performance, also in the social context, before training of the teachers and after the training, there have been some changes. Also, model the type of answers is very rare used in the session, and this is due to the nature of questions which are mainly asked do not allow student, or they allow students to give collective answers like yes or no. That means teachers do not individualize. Teachers do not individualize or do not use those 5W question in probing and assessing to see the individual insight or individual thought of the student toward the given question. Also, number of students in the class limit the possibility of making individualization and the probing in the class. This is something by the teacher when we were talking to them, as giving feedback of the observation. They were claiming that if you want to consider individual student during the session, you will not even meet your learning outcome. So this is the case. They are using inclusive question. Mainly, they're asking whether students have understood or not. And students mainly, either they keep quiet or sometimes they reply by saying yes. Well, so this study has some implication. One of them is to minimize the gap between teacher and the student during the session, because if teacher will not use the effective questioning strategy, there is a possibility of most students left behind That means they don't feel that they are part of the session. They just keep watching and wondering what is going on. But if teacher will adopt these questioning skills, will enable to engage most students in the session. Also, another implication is that our school should review teaching policy, also to customize the session flow according to the need and the background of the student. Because when looking at the lesson plan, teacher do not customize those lesson plans. So they should be customized and include some important things regarding to the questioning techniques in order to drive their session. Well, so to end up, I'm having some few recommendations as per questioning techniques. It is one, in order to improve thinking school culture, there should be professional development programs like training, coaching to the teachers. This is very important. Also, because this will enable transformation from the current level of developing to the master level by the end of 2022. Next thing, a school should review school teaching policy. This will guide those new teachers who are joining the school to adapt the model of teaching in the school. By so doing, we shall have a uniform way of conducting our session. Also, this will provide guidelines on how to handle class session accordingly, rather as it is now, because teachers sometimes argue that they are after performance. Therefore, whatever mechanism used to drive the session is accepted, but according to the time being, this result is not only purpose or only solution to the student. That means that student needed to develop thinking capacity in order to identify different challenges facing them in their real life, also to find a way out to solve them. For instance, currently we are facing with a problem of job in the labor market. So we need to have more students who will be job creator and not job seekers. So we should transform from looking at the grade performance of the student and develop them to become critical thinkers who can solve different problems around them. Well, so this marks the end of my presentation. Thank you for attending.